In this lecture, we're going to look at JSON Web Tokens in more detail. So I want you to head over to jwt.io. On this website, we have a debugger for working with JSON Web Tokens. So you can see a JSON Web Token in action. And I'm going to show you that in a few seconds. We also have a bunch of libraries to work with these JSON Web Tokens. So as I told you in the last lecture, we need to work with these tokens both on the client and on the server. And that's why we have lots of libraries for different languages and platforms. So on the front end, we're going to use a library for Angular. On the server, depending on what language and platform we're going to use for building our APIs, we need a different library. So here we have libraries for .NET, Python, Node, Java, JavaScript, Perl, Ruby, and so on. So with these libraries, we can generate and validate JSON Web Tokens very easily. Now let's see a JSON Web Token in action. So if you scroll up, under Debugger, you see two tabs, Encoded and Decoded. So what you see here, this long string is a real JSON Web Token. So this is the token that the server is going to send to the client upon successful authentication. Now note the color coding here. This token has three parts: a header that is indicated by red, a payload that is indicated by purple, and a digital signature that is indicated by blue. We can see each of these parts on the Decoded tab. Now what I want you to note here is that this token is not encrypted. This is basically encoded using the base64 algorithm. So we don't have any sensitive information here. If you simply paste this string into any base64 decoder, you can see the content. Now let's take a look at the content of this token. So here we have the header, which is basically a JSON object with two properties: algorithm, which is HS256, and type, which is JWT. This is a standard header and we don't ever have to worry about it. Below that, we have the payload, which is once again a JSON object with a few properties. These properties are attributes about the user. So we have sub or subject, name, and admin. This sub property identifies the subject of the JWT, which is the user's ID. Below that, we have the user's name, and this property determines if the user is an admin user or not. Now we can include a few other attributes here, a few other properties, and these are properties that we need to know in a lot of places in our application. Because we're going to send this JSON Web Token between the client and the server, by including these properties in the token, we don't have to go in the database to find, let's say, the name of the user every time there is a request. So that's why we have a few basic properties about the user in the payload of a JSON Web Token. Okay? Now below that, we have the signature. We use this signature to prevent a malicious user from modifying any of these properties here, because this signature is based on a secret that exists on the server. So unless a malicious user can compromise your server, they will not be able to generate a digital signature for a token. Now let's see how this digital signature is constructed. Basically, we get the header encoded using base64 algorithm and then concatenated with the payload encoded as base64. Now we have a long string, right? Then we use this secret to encrypt that long string using this algorithm here, HMAC SHA-256. So there are two interesting points here. One is that this digital signature is based on the content of this JSON Web Token. It's based on this payload. So if we change this payload, the signature needs to be regenerated. In other words, a malicious user cannot come back here and simply modify any of these properties for someone else's JSON Web Token. If they modify the value of any of these properties, they need to regenerate this digital signature. And the second interesting point here is that this signature is generated based on this secret that exists only on the server. So unless a hacker knows this secret, they cannot generate this digital signature. Okay? Now let me show you this in action. So we go back to the Encoded tab. Remember the first few letters of the digital signature. That's TJVA. Okay? Now I'm going to the Decoded tab and change this name property to Mosh Hamedani. Now, back in the Encoded tab, look at the new signature. Now it's IY8A. So you can see every time we modify the header or the payload of a JSON Web Token, the signature is regenerated. So now you have a good understanding of the high-level architecture and JSON Web Tokens. So next we're going to start implementing authentication and authorization in our application.